So friends, it's my immense pleasure to introduce Mr. Shivaz Rai. He's been so kind to join us and explain more about the citizenship program. So to give a brief about Mr. Shivaz, he has over 22 years of experience in finance and management. He's a director at Migrate World and Do Technologies Limited, also being a director of the Raising Group. He handles the finance of the entire group as well as the citizenship and residency by investment programs. Mr. Shivaz has received his BA from the University of Chicago in economics and mathematics, and also holds a diploma in business management from the prestigious Harvard Business School. And over the years, he has been also a trader at RBC, a portfolio manager at QET, a large global macro hedge fund, and a fund manager for Alchemy's fixed income funds. And during his career in banking, he was an executive director at top firms like UBS, JP Morgan. And from an educational standpoint, he also holds the feather of holding a charter degree in CFA and FRM. Mr. Rai brings with him many years of experience in banking, as well as investments in global markets and global investment programs. Wow, that's a very high regards, Shivaz. Amazing. And with a lot of finance background and now at citizenship programs, can you explain more about this journey and also about Migrate World?
Well, thank you so much, Nabil, for the amazing introduction. I appreciate all your candor and praise.
Thank you.
Before we jump into the presentation, I'd like to quickly play a video just
Sure.
to give a brief introduction about Migrate World, and hope everyone can just get a brief.
Perfect.
1 second, please.
Have you met us yet? We are Migrate World, offering a wide range of services ranging from citizenship and residency by investment to company formation and more. Allow us to explain. If you're seeking residency or a second citizenship and passport, you come to us. Through investment, we help you obtain citizenship or residency, which not only aids you in visa-free travel and security, but also means ample opportunities and an overall better life. We offer citizenship and residency by investment programs in Cyprus, Malta, Bulgaria, Dominica, St. Kitts, Portugal, USA, UK, and Canada, just to name a few. With over 15 years of experience, we are renowned for exceeding expectations. We recognize that every client situation is unique and every solution is tailored as so.
Interesting.
Thank you. And without further ado, I'll jump straight into the presentation.
Sure, Shivaz.
So, just like we mentioned, dating in people getting either citizenship by investment or residency by investment. Now, very often it is an important part for people to understand what citizenship by investment means. It is essentially the process of obtaining a second passport or another citizenship of another country by investing in their economy in one way or the other, whether it be real estate, shares, or various other programs that are offered. Now, citizenship offers legally a way to move from one country to another and get all the rights as a similar citizen would have of their country. Now, the interesting part is when you actually get citizenship by investment, you do so without, for the investors, you don't put your life on hold, you don't necessarily move there, you're able to get all this sitting at home. Now, the first few programs that I'd like to offer, which are the oldest citizenship programs, are of the Caribbean countries. The first one, which actually started off this program in the 80s, was St. Kitts and Nevis. St. Kitts and Nevis followed with St. Lucia, Dominica, Grenada, Antigua, and Barbuda are the programs which are fairly popular. Now, all these programs follow a similar model where the investors get a direct citizenship and a passport of their country, and these programs start with as little as 100,000. The clients end up getting their passports in about 3 to 6 months. The good part is they get it for the entire family, not just for themselves. And the program is passable from generations for 3 to 4 generations, even after you. The process is fairly straightforward, and there is no residency requirements, no personal worldwide income or any such issues that one might have with other countries. And more importantly, you still get the passport for these countries, which means you get over 110 countries visa free travel. You don't ever need to worry about getting your visas to the UK or EU or any other countries like that. So essentially, it's a fairly robust travel program. Now, the process is straightforward, where you submit your application and a basic due diligence fee, and only after your approval do you actually end up investing in these countries to get your application completed and your passport subsequently. Given COVID, everything can be done sitting at home, and the passport is delivered to your home address.
Wow. Okay.
Nabil, some of the questions sometimes people ask here is, do I need to give up my Indian citizenship?
Exactly.
Yes, that is, and obviously, India does not have a dual citizenship program. So within a year of after obtaining the passport, you will actually end up having to give up your Indian passport. However, you can then obtain the OCI,
Okay.
which is the Overseas Citizen of India, and gives you similar rights as an Indian citizen, not exactly the same, but relatively straightforward. Now, just going forward, one of my favorite programs that has just launched is this country called Vanuatu.
Okay.
Vanuatu is an island in the South Pacific Ocean towards Australia. Now, it's the newest program that's been launched and it's the first one in the Pacific Islands. What's interesting about this is it's the fastest way to get a passport. So if someone really wants to end up getting a passport relatively fast, this is the country to go to. It still has 120 visa-free travel countries, including UK, EU, Singapore. There's no personal or worldwide income tax. There's no visit required. And the good part is the entire documentation is still fairly straightforward and limited.
Okay.
So, we're able to get this done in a much faster. I've had this even happen for clients in 1 to 2 months, not even 2 to 3 months. So, it can be relatively interesting for those people who are looking urgently to get another passport, so that, given in the current situation, it's hard to travel. This can be an easier way out.
So it's interesting, even during COVID times and without all this travel happening, these things are still happening at a much faster pace than what it used to be.
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, obviously we took a hiatus for like 3 to 6 months in the beginning, but now that the countries are back on, the processes are being streamlined. Even the oath taking ceremony, it can be done on Zoom, similar to something similar
Wow.
what we've done. So yes, it's been a very interesting few months as how the countries have evolved in this.
Interesting.
So over and to the next programs. Now, these are actually residency by investment programs. Very important to understand. These are residencies which can lead to a passport if you go and
fulfill the conditions.
Correct, exactly. Now, my favorite program in the European Union is the Bulgarian citizenship, residency and citizenship program. Now, the best part is Bulgaria is an EU country and has been for the last 13, 14 years. So it's fairly well integrated into the European economy. Once you are a European Union citizen, which means once you do become a Bulgarian citizen, you can live and work anywhere in the EU, whether it be Spain or whether it be France, Germany, Greece, name it. You are now a citizen of the European Union. Now, how does one go about this? Bulgaria just relaunched this program a few weeks ago and ended up actually doubling their entire investments and their fast track option. However, the good part at Migrate World, we have financing options which are available. And we can discuss more of that on a one-to-one basis with the person, with the client. Now, the good part is it is the fastest way to get an EU passport. You get your PR within 3 to 6 months, and after those 3 to 6 months, there is no residency requirement. You can live and work anywhere that whatever you're doing right now, your life doesn't get put on hold. And 2 years after that, you can apply for the Bulgarian citizenship. And once you've done that, that is transferable for this by descent to other parts of your family also. So it's a relatively good program. You have financing options which are available that Migrate World gives you. So it makes it relatively, feasible for most people. And you just have to make 2 trips to Bulgaria. And
Okay.
some of that work can actually be done out of the Delhi or Dubai or any parts embassy also.
And I think you have daily direct flights from Dubai to Bulgaria using Flight Dubai, very quick and easy. So it's not going to be very difficult as well.
Exactly. So it's fairly, and obviously the passport is very strong also, right?
Yes.
It also gives you a visa-free access to Canada, over 140 countries.
Correct.
So it is one of the strongest passports in the world. And once the whole idea would be for you to get an EU passport, which then comes with all the benefits of getting the entire number of states that are behind you. Even if you don't have a Bulgarian embassy, you can have other European Union embassies which can help. Yes.
So Shivaz, yeah. Yep. About the investment of €1 million and €2 million in listed shares. So there is a difference on fast track. So you get your citizenship much faster on the second track where you skip the residency program, or you have to become a resident
versus 2 years. That's the difference. So in the fast track, like I said, we do have the financing option, which makes it relatively much more affordable.
Exactly.
And, for the entire, client community. And obviously that can be discussed on a one-to-one option because the entire individual's, particular circumstances. But it is very attractive. And in spite of doubling of this that's happened in the few things, our financing option has not changed, which makes it extremely lucrative.
Exactly. And your tenure is also shortened from 5 to 2 years, which is also more interesting.
Absolutely. So, like I said, apart from that, Sofia is actually a nice city. Bulgaria has some beautiful, beautiful beaches. It's relatively well located, central, and the good part is you don't think of becoming one of the countries. There are other programs like which have come out, which are like which give you the promise of being able to countries which will go into the EU. But I much rather always be in a country which has already been part of the EU for the last 13, 15 years or so, because they've already withstood the test of time and they are now getting integrated even more into the entire European Union.
So Shivaz, is there a lock-in period for this 2 million on the shares that has to be kept? Is it for the entire duration, or how's it tracked?
Okay, so Nabil, very good question. Yes, there is. As a matter of fact, every few months, every 6 months, you have to actually end up giving a CA certificate, and which will certify that your investments are still there, all that sort of stuff. However, that's where Migrate World comes in. We take care of that entire thing for you. So the good part is we provide an end-to-end solution. It's not as if our solution would be where we just end up, you put in this and we walk out. Our motto is, after you get your passport is where our relationship begins, because over the years we've learned it's not the client's one need that comes in, but it becomes their family needs which go on and gives us the maximum amount of strength for a client over the years.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So we manage everything just like you spoke about, and that's why I was talking about the financing option. It becomes very lucrative, much cheaper, and we end up giving a significant advantage to our clients for that.
It's very interesting.
Contact us on a one-to-one basis, and I will share our numbers and our emails towards the end. And Nabil, obviously you're there to basically guide us through this.
Absolutely.
Now, the other 2 programs that in European Union that I like are the golden visa programs. Now, these golden visa programs are with Portugal and Greece. Now, Portugal is fairly straightforward. It was the first one that that came into the picture. Now, the client invests about 350,000 euros into a real estate or a government approved fund in Portugal. Similar to this, the processing time is about 3 to 6 months, and the investor can get the residence permit for the entire family. Now, once you are a Portuguese permanent resident, you can travel visa free into the entire Schengen zone.
Okay.
However, what is interesting and important to understand that in this case, the citizens to become a citizen after 5 years, you do have to pass the Portuguese language test.
Okay.
So, and it's a level of A2 level of Portuguese test. So it means you need to pretty much know it.
Okay.
To a large extent.
Okay.
And just to maintain your residency, though, you require about 1 week for every year. You need to stay 1 week to keep renewing your permanent residency.
Okay.
Any questions on this, you think?
No, it's interesting. But again, here as well, we need you guys come in and you evaluate that the 350,000 euro is still kept in the real estate format. Only then it gets renewed every year, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Now, Greece is the cheapest one in the European Union, where you invest just 250,000 into a Greek real estate, and you can get the residency permanent for the entire family, just under one investment. Now, you can include your spouse, dependents, children below the age of 21, and their parents. Now, similar to this, you get the residence permit within 3 to 6 months, and you also get visa-free travel. Now, what's interesting is the Greek residency program hasn't reached 7 years yet. So
okay.
We don't know the exact, we have never had an opportunity to actually get a client a citizenship yet. Now it's going to come up very soon, and we'll exactly find out how difficult the Greek language test will be, or if there will be or not, what will be the entire thing. So this is an upcoming program. It is the cheapest one, but at the same time, it hasn't stood the test of time for us to get a very full understanding of what the citizenship will look like. However, Greece is a beautiful country, as we all know, and we can see in the picture also.
Yes.
One of my favorite destinations. As a matter of fact, every time I go to Greece, come back with a smiling face. So, beautiful country. Similar to this, you get visa-free travel to the Schengen zone also.
Great. So, Shivaz, just a question here. For Portugal and Greece, the real estate investment of 350 and 250,000 euros, it's only for the primary applicant, and his family gets residency without having to invest for them separately, right?
Absolutely correct.
Okay. Okay. And just want to understand, Migrate World also helps in sourcing these real estate properties for clients?
Absolutely. We do all, again, start to finish.
Excellent.
Entire process. Show them various options, take them around. We have offices around the world, so our agents would go with them, show them various options. They can help them even give a better understanding of what kind of rental yields they could get if they end up deciding to rent them, or what it would be like.
Interesting, interesting. And Shivaz, there's no restrictions on a single individual holding more than one country's residency program, right? So that doesn't stop.
That you're absolutely right. There is no such thing. We are free to obtain residencies of as many countries as you want at one point.
Nice. Thanks, Shivaz. Yeah, can move on.
Great. Now, I've classified Turkey into European residency program because Turkey, as we know, is where, split into half Asia and half Europe. It's still not part of the EU, but what's interesting is we have a similar program, and this is actually a citizenship by investment program. So you actually can get a Turkish citizenship within 3 to 6 months. Now, what's interesting is, again, we have a financing option in this also, and the client needs to invest only $250,000 into a Turkish real estate project any kind of real estate to get a full passport and citizenship and become a Turkish citizen.
Okay.
There are no residency requirements, there are no language requirements, and Turkish passport is still relatively strong. It has over 110 countries that are visa-free travels also.
Okay. And from the taxation perspective, is it a tax-free country, Turkey?
Not really. So that's where I haven't put that, if you notice in my thing. So okay. Turkish tax would be a little bit more complicated, and we'll have to understand this on a more, I guess, one-to-one basis.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And to be fair, has a complex tax structure also, but it's by the way, I missed out on the Bulgarian part. What is great about Bulgaria is also it has one of the lowest tax rates also. So it's only 10% tax rate, which I would say is pretty much the lowest in the European Union, I would say, after maybe so Bulgaria has that big advantage which I left out, and I apologize.
Shivaz, we just have one question from an attendee, Mr. Imran. He says, for the real estate investments in the Portugal and Greece, after getting the citizenship, can they renounce the investment, or should they?
They can. That is absolutely right. But for the 5 to 7 year period, they will have to hold it. After that, I think this is a very good question, and I would like to answer this and give a very strong understanding to people. Citizenship means you're a citizen. Whatever the definition is, we must understand that once that person becomes a citizen, they are now a full citizen of the country. So after few years, like Turkish citizenship has also a 5 year requirement. After the 5 year, once you've given up that, you are a full Turkish citizen for the rest of your life. You are not, similar to that, Greece, Portugal. Once you've become a citizen and you've given your 5 to 7 years into the project, done everything, they expect you to have enough roots in the country anyways after that time that you will end up keeping it, but there are no restrictions and requirements once you are a citizen, not a PR, to be very clear.
Clear. Interesting.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
So now the US and Canadian programs are very different in nature. And I want to, before I go into this, I want to explain what the difference is. These are actual migrant programs, which means you lock, stock, pack your bags and you move to these countries. Because if you do not maintain those number of days every year, every 5 years, whatever the various stipulations are, you end up losing the entire PR or green card or anything that you end up getting. Now, however, US and Canada are obviously, the mecca of migration for a lot of people. So for those people who do have $900,000 and available for them to invest in, we have the USA EB5 program. Now, what is the EB5 program? The investor gets a direct green card for themselves and their family, which includes their spouse and children below the age of 21. Now, under this, the investor is required to invest 900,000 into a government-approved project, and there are no age restrictions or anything. Also, there are no language, educational requirements or anything to be eligible under this program. The investors can choose to reside anywhere in the US once they've got their green card, which makes the program a fairly preferred option. Now at Migrate World, we've been facilitating these projects and have a very good track record of being able to return the client's investments in 6 to 7 years of their investment.
Okay.
But just to let you know, there is a long enough waiting time in this. So there is a good 5 year period that you end up getting your green card in. So there is a good significant amount of wait. Now, if you're a Chinese citizen, your wait is as long as 7 to 8 years at times. So there is it's fairly popular. However, like I discussed, this is a direct green card program.
So they get their green card after this 5 years, 7 year period, but the investments happens in day one. So the 900,000 investment.
Absolutely.
So they invest and wait for that green card to come.
Yes. Okay. So this is a way way for people to actually invest in the country of the US for these projects that are fairly popular, and then because of that investment end up getting this.
Okay.
Now, obviously, due to the increased investment for EB5 used to be 500,000, just gone up to this 900,000 a few years ago, couple of years ago. Then people have become very interested in this E2 program. Now, what E2 program is basically a treaty that the US government has with a few countries, under which the citizens of these countries are allowed to live and along with their families and do some business in the US.
Okay.
Now, what's interesting is the applicant needs to invest in the business in the US and manage the business under this E2 visa. What's interesting is they can either have their own business plan, or we also have franchisee opportunities that we offer, where we give you a business that you can look at, become a franchisee of, and get the E2 business visa.
Wow. Okay.
So what's very important to understand is there are only few countries that have this E2 visa program offer.
Okay.
One of the countries that we discussed previously was Grenada, which is part of the entire, St. Kitts, St. all those. Grenada offers the US E2 program for Grenadian citizens.
Okay. So once someone is interested in a Grenadian citizenship, he renounces whatsoever he has, takes it, and then he's eligible for a E2 program.
Absolutely.
And Indian citizens directly have an access to the CT program at this stage?
No, they don't.
Okay, so that's another way of looking at double. Interesting, very interesting. Okay.
Absolutely. But there are two things which are very important to understand here. This is a non-immigrant program. So it's not a green card program. You can live there, and the E2 is valid for 2 years, and it can be extended a number of times. However, it is still a non-immigrant visa, just for people to understand. It's a business visa which allows you to live there.
Okay.
Just given from your DVS advisor's tax point of view, there are tax advantages because you don't get then into global taxation or all that stuff, which a green card then comes with.
Correct. Correct.
So this can be an interesting option for that.
Hmm.
Now, being a fellow Canadian, I think nothing can be stopped without actually talking through the Canadian programs.
Okay.
Now, there are three ways. Obviously, Canada is very, very popular for Indians. As a matter of fact, I think last year, or maybe not in 2020, I would say 2019, I think about 90,000 Indians migrated to Canada. So,
Indians, huh? Wow.
Yes, it's obviously, for obvious reasons, Canada is always comes up. Now, there are three ways to get to Canada. One is the express entry route, which a lot of people hear about. We do not offer the express entry programs as of now. The reason for that is fairly complex. You require an extremely high English score that you need to get on your IELTS, and you don't know how long it could take.
Okay.
It could be 1 year, it could be 3 years, it could be 6 years. It's the luck of the draw. And we feel that that's not what our expertise lies in getting people just put it in. However, the two kinds of programs that we offer are on a province-wise programs, which are called Provincial Nominee Programs. Now,
okay.
These are, like we mentioned around here, there are 3 different states which we mentioned around, provinces that we mentioned: New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, and Prince Edward Islands. Now, what's important to understand is each of these programs have because they're developed by the province, you need to actually get the business plan approved by the province, manage the business there, which gets you a residential permit. And then after having maybe, a couple of years of, and meeting all the requirements of the province, you can then get a PR. So this is a program that leads to a permanent residence in Canada, not directly a permanent residence into Canada. And, we can discuss each of these programs individually, but the processing time is about 24 to 28 months. You still need to have a net worth requirement, have a minimum investment into each of these businesses, get the plans approved. So it's a relatively onerous process, I would say, but it can be done.
Okay.
Now, my favorite program in Canada is the federal program called the Startup Visa Program. Now, out here, we've only mentioned the Angel Investor Program as it's the most popular one, but there are 2 parts in the Startup Visa Program. One is the Angel Investor Program, and the other is the Incubator Program.
Okay.
Now, what's amazing about this is it is actually a federal program. Now, what that means is once you actually get a PR, you can live, work anywhere in Canada other than Quebec.
Okay.
And you can land and become a resident of any province in Canada, whether it be British Columbia, or whether it be all these three ones that I mentioned before, or even Toronto, which is Ontario. So now, what's interesting about this program is it was started off as experimental programs in around 2013 or 14, and then became a full program in 2017-18.
Okay.
Now, the advantages are very straightforward. You get your PR fairly quickly, in between 9 to 18 months, depending on how quickly your paperwork is processed and depending on the backlog. It's the fastest way to get a Canadian PR straight away by investment.
Okay.
Now, what does the client have to do is essentially he needs to demonstrate that they have a 500,000 Canadian dollars net worth. Now, the net worth just generally is important so that they're not a burden on the entire economy as soon as they obviously enter.
Right.
They need to demonstrate some kind of a business management kind of experience, and third thing is they need to pass the IELTS exam, but with only a score of 5. So anyone who's pretty much, understanding whatever we're talking about here, pass that. Now,
okay.
The other ones require 7.5. Here you require just a 5, which means you just need to have a good enough business knowledge of being able to understand English.
Right.
Pretty much. You can do that in French also. So that's also the other option that one has. Now, what ends up happening in this is you actually get affiliated with an angel investor. So you actually invest in a business and become a part of that business, which will be like a startup. And you'll own at least 10% of that startup and go through this entire program as a part of the startup.
Okay. Okay. And once he applies for this, he travels to Canada and he'll have to reside there during this period, right?
So actually, it's very interesting. For the application process, you do not need to do any of that.
Okay.
The good part is there are the 3-step process. You put in your application, you get matched up with what would be your appropriate experience into the whatever startups are there. You invest, you end up becoming a part of that startup, and then you get a letter of support. Once you get the letter of support, you then go into the federal stage, which is what I'm trying to explain to you about, that 9 to 15 months time frame that it ends up taking to get the PR. That means your application is now with the federal government to get the PR. You only need to move to the Canada after you have got the full PR. Once you get the PR, you land in Canada, and then you're like any normal Canadian PR. 3 years after residing, you get the Canadian passport. All those various things are fairly straightforward once you've already landed. Now, but what's important to understand is once you have landed, you do have the mandatory 2 years out of 5 years number of days that you need to spend in Canada. You will lose the Canadian PR, which is important for people to understand. But most often than not, when people are applying for this, they have that expectation that they will and their family will be moving to Canada. Now, one of the big advantages of this, and I think this is very important for people who have younger kids, or, Canada is one of the best, I would say, educational and health programs, etc. So a lot of times people don't honestly spend a lot of money on international student fees. Once you become a PR, you're actually now a permanent resident of that state. You end up getting fairly reduced kind of fees in college education for your children. People who have 2-3 children really should, think about this in a very strong manner. And obviously, the health facilities, the country, extremely strong passport. I would say I'm in the top 2-3 passports of the world. I'm a fellow Canadian. Extremely, I moved there with my parents in the 90s. Turned out just fine. So
great.
Sorry, please.
Yeah, just a question, Shivaz. So when your application is made for the letter of support after which you get to move in, it's made along with the family together. So it's not like the individual first and then followed by the family, or it's done together simultaneously?
Absolutely together. Under 21 though. That's the only thing, which is a very important thing. So you should definitely Yeah.
Okay. And these angel investors programs, Migrate World does help in evaluating them and showing some options to the clients, or how does it work?
It's we do everything for you.
Okay.
We help you through the process of going through the interviews, the immigration, going through and selecting which would be the appropriate projects for you. We have certain things which are called the incubator programs also, in which you end up investing in a few projects, not just one. Incubator is like a fund. Angel investor part would be just one startup. We have all these programs, and obviously it's much more detailed in you know conversation that we need to have with the client to
Absolutely.
get very deep understanding on this. But the idea is to get them an introduction as to how one can get the PR into Canada relatively easy with this program,
Sure. Okay.
which we are
Great.
extremely excited about. One last thing I guess I wanted to add on this.
Yeah.
A lot of times people don't understand that these programs continuously change, right? So when we are saying this today, this is where it is today. Sometimes people have come back to me with programs that were there 2 3 years ago, and Canada and immigration in Canada is a continuously mobile process, which also changes with time. So the relatively faster one is, the better their chances with the entire programs are. So I highly recommend people to have a conversation. And like I've always said, right, I said in the beginning, our process doesn't end with giving you a PR. And this is the beginning of a relationship, and I feel our relationship begins the day our job, which you consider is over, but we feel that that's where we begin.
Absolutely, absolutely, Shivas. So, Shivas, if an applicant is just looking at maintaining the PR and not properly getting into the citizenship process in Canada, the only requirement is the number of days of stay, or is there any other requirements?
That's all there is.
It's
Just the
wonderful.
number of days that you need to spend in Canada.
Okay, and then
2
your
out of 5 next 5 years.
Okay, wonderful. That's a very interesting and easy process as well. Great.
So apart from me, I just wanted to introduce our team.
Yeah.
Shalini, Srinath, Kunal, and Sunil, where we're based. Our email addresses are fairly simple. Shalini, she's the country head. I think she's also on the call somewhere, but I don't know if she's the host or not. Her email address is just shalini@migrateworld.com. Srinath is Srinath@migrateworld. Kunal is Kunal@migrateworld.com. Other than that, obviously, Nabil, you are always there for everyone. So after this brief presentation, I think I'd like to open up to any specific questions people might have.
Yes, yes, Shivas. So it was wonderful, Shivas, to understand. I mean, had this presentation not happened, there's a lot of questions in the minds, even in to myself, which shouldn't have been answered. So thanks for all the time. Just one question, Shivas. Let's say a client has renounced his Indian citizenship and taken one of these passports, and later, is it possible for him to renounce the new passport and take something else as well?
Absolutely. A lot of clients that we have ended up going first step with the Caribbean program.
Okay.
And then took the Caribbean program for their visa, free travel, for their various things, and then applied for a PR for certain countries, like ended up taking up the Bulgarian PR, which then converted into a citizenship a few years later. So there are many different step programs. Sometimes clients have actually done the other thing, which is still taking the Caribbean citizenships programs and then gone into the Canadian PR and maybe obtained the citizen not in 3 years straight because they couldn't make the number of days, but they have a few number of days after that where maybe the kids obtained it right away because they were studying there or something, but the client and their spouse ended up obtaining it a few years later, even after that. Now, given the fact that you already have a very strong passport, you don't need to end up worrying about getting the citizenship right away. And you can still live on the PR for a significant number of days or years, I would say, and then take it at your convenience.
Nice. And Shivaz, does the Bulgarian passport allow citizenship to hold dual passports?
Yes, Bulgarian does.
So that's again a lot of advantages in Bulgaria then.
Like I said, one of my favorite programs.
Wonderful, wonderful. So thank you so much, Shivaz, for your time, and we are very, very happy to connect with you. We already have a lot of our viewers asking us about how to connect and take this forward. So one of our team members will be in touch with you all, and then we take this forward. We're going to also put up this video on our YouTube channel, and we'll be getting engaged very soon.
Thanks, Nabil. I really appreciate this.
Thank you
so much, everyone. Appreciate all the interesting questions and for spending the time with us.
Thank you, Shivaz. Thanks a lot.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.